Yeah, I'll check the.
I'm just super terrible.
You're pretty good at guitar, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're better than I am. You're better than he is.
Yeah. Big
So
time.
you're the best guitarist in the room.
Yeah.
Right now.
Big
Yeah.
time. And then also at most of the crazy.
Yeah. You're the best drummer in the room.
Yeah.
But I bet you're a better bass player. By virtue of your fingers being more nimble, you probably are a better bass player. But I'm better at singing than you.
Well,
You're way better.
You're definitely the best Jim in the room.
Oh, hell. Just like a turd on a popsicle.
Yeah.
So hello and welcome to Idiots with Instruments.
Oh, that was an intro.
The show that follows the band Red Hot Rebellion as we write and record our brand-ass new album and interview very fancy people who work in the music industry. Some of them more fancy than others. Some of them are maybe even a little famous. My name is Jim. I play bass and sing.
I'm Doug. I play guitar and screech.
I'm Andris. I play the drums.
And you have a wicked cookie duster these days.
I do.
The shit is resting on the
it's really-
microphone.
It's really affecting how I talk. I
Yeah.
have to rest it, on the microphone so that I can move
Wait,
my mouth.
I'm going to take a
correctly.
pic of
Yeah, go for
the
it.
whiskers on the
Show
mic.
show the people at home.
I call that a POOM broom.
I don't even know what that's.
If I
referring
remember,
to.
that's going in the
poon?
show notes.
Poon?
Oh, poon.
Poon
I thought
brew.
you said poom,
I might have
like
said
with
that.
an M.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
it could
that's
be a
good shit.
Puma
Poom
broom.
broom.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
He said
that's
a cookie
new
duster.
Maybe that's the new right cookie duster.
Cookie duster.
Poom broom. Maybe poom is a new.
Like FUPA.
Yeah.
We can just say some
Puma.
shit and act like we know what it
Yeah,
means,
right.
and then the kids will start saying it.
That's true.
Dude, look at the poom on that guy. Well. I ain't never seen no poom like that.
See, there you go.
Dude, he's all poom. Hey, look at that guy's poom. All
yeah.
right.
Oh, cool.
But I got a pretty wicked poom.
Yeah. Dude, it's
really-
sweet.
What?
It
what we
is.
can get.
It
out
sounds like, it definitely sounds like something a Bostonian would say.
of. Yeah.
Hey, kid, you got a wicked poom.
Wicked poon.
How about that Dockbuster, kid?
Yeah.
Wicked pooms. All poom.
Poom.
We need to get T-shirts made that says Red Hot Rebellion, Wicked Pooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, hey, so we're going in the studio in
1 week.
1 week.
1
Yeah.
week from today.
Yeah, and actually, so this is almost real time these days because we're finally caught up because of vacay and all that shit that we're recording things pretty much the week before they air now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you may have been confused when we were talking about how cold it was in the dead of summer a couple of weeks ago.
It's been very hot lately.
Yeah.
In
Yes.
particular, that's
So, sorry about that, and sorry about the technical difficulties we've been having.
yeah.
Yeah, Andris found
The
some bullshit in one of the episodes. Right?
I forget what the episode is called, but it was the one that was released on June 27th.
Okay.
The bass is off.
The bass is off.
Sorry
So
about that.
I am not a great bass player, but I'm not that bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that bad.
Yeah.
So that's, this is all an experiment for us. We're not fucking good at anything.
We're good at showing up here sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah, we're good at
Good
rocking
at that.
rocking the microphone, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, so I've been watching Luke Cage, the season 2. You guys hip to the Luke Cage? It's been pretty good. I like
I haven't
it.
watched
No.
season 2.
Yeah.
It's good, man. There's
I was-
a lot of Jamaicans, man.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, man.
Makes
and they're
you
like
think of snow.
Yeah, and they're not like sugarcoating the Jamaican actors, like the guys doing accents and stuff.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
really like, me playing the shit, man. And Diane's like, what the shit is he saying? So,
Yeah.
They had the first season had I really enjoyed the soundtrack.
yeah, the
to
soundtrack
show.
of
Oh.
season
Is
2
the
is
season 2 is good too?
super good. In fact, I was listening to it on Spotify this
they-
week.
Do they got
Yeah.
some sweet reggae jams?
They got and a lot of blues, real good blues.
Nice.
Yeah, and
Good.
like a couple good covers of like, I put a spell on you.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, your mind.
That's what the world needs is some
Yeah.
more good
Yeah.
soulful stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who originally did that? He was like the first he like kind of led into like Alice Cooper and all that shit and Kiss with the kind of like dark what the fuck, what was his name? You know what I'm talking about? He did like caskets and like he was like a spooky man. I'm a spooky
I
man.
know what you're talking about.
What the fuck
Is
was
this the
his
dude
name?
from The Damned?
No, earlier than that. This is like old blues.
Old blues.
Shoes. Yeah. Oh, fuck. Hey, send us an email because we don't know music history. And tell us who that guy is. I'm sure we'll figure it out.
It's true.
But anyway, this episode, besides us rambling, features a interview that I did with Nick TIEDER, the general manager of Frontiers Music for North America. They are a badass rock and roll label from Italy. Oh, mamma mia! So we're gonna Italia. Yeah, homeboy knows his shit, and he loves rock and roll. And he and I had a pretty good conversation about Maiden versus Priest, among other things. So it's coming right at you right now. Stay tuned. Here it is.
Joining us today is Nick TIEDER, the general manager of Frontiers Music North America. Frontiers Music was born in Italy in the mid-'90s and quickly became synonymous with high-quality rock and metal. While Frontiers has been busy mining the wealth of rock and roll talent in the UK and Scandinavian scenes, signing, developing, and nurturing U.S. bands has become a massive priority for the label. Nick has over 20 years' experience in publicity, sales, artist relations, management, and marketing, and is currently located in Nashville, Tennessee. Nick, welcome to the show, and thank you for spending some time with us today. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I am doing well. I guess to just start out, if you could please maybe give us a little background about yourself and the label Frontiers Music and your current mission here for the label in the United States. Because you started in Italy, you're over here in the United States now, so let us know what you're all about.
So the label was born in 1996 in Naples, Italy, by a guy named Serafino Perugino, who was a massive melodic rock fan.
Nice.
Anybody who's listening who loves Journey, they recognize the label is named after a Journey album.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Frontiers.
Yeah.
Didn't even make that connection. Go. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Arguably their best album. That's probably a whole other podcast we could do a debate on.
Yep.
But he started as a distribution company because he saw in Italy there was nobody really distributing the type of music he liked. And pretty quickly it turned into a label because he saw, hey, these artists are out there and I just become the label home. And that's really how the label was birthed. And then it was growing and growing, and he was signing more well-known acts, internationally well-known acts, and decided that it was time to stop saying, hey, we'll do your records in Europe. He said that we'll start doing your records for the world.
Right.
So they entered the U.S. Market and really began the process of introducing their brand name here back in the early 2000s. And this time, when he was starting the label, I still had a year left in college. So I graduated college in 97, and all my buddies were that August were buying suits and ties and going off for accounting interviews or whatever they were doing. And I thought, well, it's probably about time for me to figure out what I want to do as an adult. And I'm not a musician. I can't sing. I don't have a stitch of that kind of talent in my body. But my main passion in life has always been music. I'm just a fanatic. And I thought, what I really want to do is help musicians. Help musicians put out their albums, spread the word about their albums, really just work with artists. That's what I wanted to do. So like every, young jackass out there with daydreams of the music industry, I thought, I want to be an A&R guy. Everybody wants to be an A&R
Right,
guy.
yeah. So glamorous. You're hitting the clubs. You're finding the talent. You're mixing it up. Yeah.
You're flying on the private jets with Metallica. You're living the life, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the one label I actually really was having daydreams about was Roadrunner Records because my musical palette is really broad. I'm one of those people. I think there's two types of music. There's bad music and there's good music, and that's all subjective. So I know what sounds good to me, but I am a self-identifying metalhead. I always have been since my teen years.
Very
so
good.
Roadrunner Roadrunner is putting out Fear Factory, Machine Head, Obituary, Deicide, Sepultura, all this stuff. I thought, wow, that seems like an amazing place, and I did wind up getting an internship there, actually.
Nice.
Which was my first entree into the business, because my father, who was an attorney, had a client he said, his daughter is married to somebody in the Allman Brothers or something like that.
Or something like that, yeah.
It turned out to be Warren Haynes from Government Mule's wife, Stephanie.
Oh, wow.
And she very graciously said, yes, I'll meet this kid. And I went to her office, and I remember she had a bunch of gold and platinum records for Anthrax hanging on her wall. Which
nice.
I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I wore a suit, and I remember one of the first things she said to me was, well, you'll never have to wear that again.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's funny.
And this was 97, so this is still back in the ancient days of not everything being online. And she said, go buy a Polestar book, call up every record label in New York City and ask them for an internship. And that's exactly. And of course, the first one I called was Roadrunner.
Wow!
And,
you got the first one right out of the gate.
Well, I mean, internships. I was having this discussion with someone else a week or two ago. I think it might be more difficult now doing internships at record labels because there's a lot of the school credit type of thing involved.
Right. Yeah.
Back at this time, I think people were just whatever, free labor. Somebody kind of stuffed the envelopes and
that was call everybody. Yeah, that was before the big
all the
boom.
college radio stations.
Yeah. There's like a whole boom of like music marketing and music recording schools now, and I guess back like in the late '90s that didn't really exist. So, just out of curiosity, what was your major in college?
General arts, because I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Yeah, all right.
I mostly went to college because my parents said, you're going to college for 4 years and you're graduating in 4 years.
Right.
That's what you're going to do. Or, I had an older brother I have an older brother who he did like the 7-year program. And
I did 5. I did the 5-year plan. Yeah.
No shame in it.
No, yeah. But I blame it on my bands. I was in bands during the time, so I didn't really fly with the parents. But that's why it took me 5 years. But good. So you landed the gig at Roadrunner, and then you were bitten. You got the bug, and you've been in music ever since.
Yeah, so I got 2 internships at the same time. I was at Roadrunner, and I was at a smaller company called Thirsty Ear Records, which is run by a guy named Peter. I am completely blanking on his last name right now, but this guy Peter, who used to be a former marketing executive at Columbia Records, and he just wanted to go start his own little niche label. So he was doing a lot of sub-licensing for some labels in Europe, and he was putting out records by Robert Wyatt, who was in the Soft Machine. He did a record with The Church. He did a record with the late, great John Martin, which I'll still never forget being at the Chelsea Hotel with John at like 11 in the morning, and he was had a couple drinks, as was his style, and I just thinking, man, this is so crazy that like my professional life might revolve around dealing with drunk musicians at 11 a.m.
It's a weird word.
Sweet guy, talented guy. He, at least at that point in time, did like his drinks. But so I was doing interning for the radio department at Roadrunner, and Thirsty Ear was a very small company, so I was interning for the radio and the press department there.
Oh wow!
And the publicist, they both kept me busy, but the publicist really needed more help because it was more of a publicity-driven kind of label. And she taught me a ton. And then I was faxing. It sounds so weird to say that now.
Wow.
I was faxing out my resume after some time there. You know, I wanted the full-time job, even though I was part-time there and there was hints that maybe it'd become full-time, but I wanted a full-time job at the moment. Right. So I wound up getting a junior publicist position at a company called MG Records, which was an independent label in New York City that had some great bands like Orange 9mm, Lower East Side Stitches,
oh, wow.
35,
yeah,
Spider Virus, cool bands. And then they wound up signing this band called Kitty from Canada.
Yeah, the metal band with they're all ladies, yeah.
Yep, correct. And
man, they're
right when all this, it was cool. And right when all this was happening, Danny Goldberg, famous music industry executive, came in to see the owner of NG and said, "Hey, I am starting a new company with some former Mercury executives that I know, and Mercury Records executives, and I'd like you to help me finance it because the owner of NG had some capital to do so." And then all of a sudden, you know, I think there was talk of keeping things separate for probably about 2 seconds, and then all of a sudden, you know, the merger happened very quickly, and I was one of the folks who got kept on board and moved up to Artemis, and the Artemis acts followed. But then all of a sudden, I'm doing tour press for Warren Zevon. I'm doing tour press for Steve Earle, Ricky Lee Jones. Just mind blowing to my little 22, 23-year-old brain.
Right.
And,
yeah.
I was loving it, and they had a bunch of developing acts. Who Let the Dogs Out came along. You know, there's a lot of really cool stuff happening there.
So the Baja Men were on your label?
They were. It was a label called S-Curve. S-Curve still exists, actually. This guy Steve Greenberg, really brilliant A&R guy, came in with it, and he needed a distribution partner for S-Curve for it, and that's how it came to Artemis, because anybody who heard that song said, "Yep, that's a massive hit."
That's a hit.
And,
yep.
and we were still in that time frame where you know, you could sell millions of CDs.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We talked to Snow a couple weeks ago, and that's like a little bit earlier than that. But yeah, I kind of lumped that those are the mega hit days, like with Informer, and then Who Let the Dogs Out. Man, those were heady times, man. Wow.
I mean, they were like within 2 or 3 years of each other.
Yeah.
Or pretty close. I mean, because Informer, I remember coming out towards the tail end of me being in college.
Yeah.
And that was. I mean, there was just. I mean, the 90s were just insane. In terms of hit singles, it was kind of unbelievable how ubiquitous so many songs were getting.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
And I guess I don't want to jump too much over your backstory, but
no, it's fine.
So fast forward a little bit, and now we're working with Frontiers Music, which is mainly focused on the European rock scene. And I just what do you think it is because of course rock ruled the world for forever, and it's been waning in the United States, but I think it's having a resurgence now. But it's been strong in Scandinavia and the UK and Italy and Spain. We sell more records in Spain and Poland and Italy and the UK than we do, except for when we're touring in the United States, but just off the internet and over our streaming, and then our just direct to fan sales is mostly over there. And bands like Turbo Negro and the Helicopters and from the early 2000s kind of I guess propelled it, and it stayed so strong. Why do you think that is, that it's been so strong in Europe, and we've got to work a little harder in the United States these days?
I mean, I don't think it's actually, I see your point, but I actually don't think it's that different from, I remember growing up and loving Faith No More before Epics became a big hit, but they had already broken in England. England already got it. England got, we got the Strokes before the US got the Strokes.
And Hendrix. Let's not forget about Hendrix. He went over there to get big first, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
It's sort of always been this thing where I think part of the thing, and this is pure opinion, is that in the U.S., you see a lot of, like, I'll just think about when I was in high school, and it was like, you couldn't like Testament and Tesla. You had to like Testament or
Tesla. Yeah.
Yeah, which is absurd because they're both fantastic bands doing, playing great music. But there was this kind of thing like, oh, you're a poser if you like, if you're trying to say you like thrash metal and the hard rock stuff.
Right.
You're like, oh, you can't like Def Leppard and Death Angel. That's bullshit.
No. We say the F word all the fucking time, so yeah.
Okay, get the fucking out. But it's in the U.S., I think there's always been this thing, at least for a long time, where you had to be in a box. Music was such a part of your identity, and you had to stick to an identity. Now, these days, I think that has broken down, because I think kids today are like, whatever, I like Lady Gaga and Slayer.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think there's not any rules anymore, but I think we had those rules in place for so long that caused some weirdness. So people were like, I'm only going to listen to hip-hop.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to check out rock music. And I think it just caused this weird thing. And then as far as, I mean, it's interesting, when I go to Italy for the Frontiers, they had their festival for a fifth year in a row. You go over there, and the bill it's all rock, quote unquote, bands, but it's really diverse stuff. So they'll have like an AOR band into something that's more modern hard rock, into something that's, you know, classic 80s metal, and then they'll have a Norwegian metal band that sounds like Ronnie James Dio. And people just there. They're just there they're there for the vibe and the music, and every band's cool, and they seem more interested in the musicianship. Like, oh, he's a great singer. He's a great guitar player. She's a great drummer. She's a great guitarist. It doesn't matter, you know, what they're doing, as long as they're playing the instruments competently. They just seem interested, and I do find it interesting that a lot of these Scandinavian, like, young people in their 20s, like, oh yeah, Journey rules. I'm trying to make my band sound like Journey meets Whitesnake.
Oh, there is hope for the future.
Yeah, but it's
awesome.
and then there's a band on Frontiers called Eclipse from Sweden. The main guy in Eclipse, Eric Martinson, is a genius. He has a couple of different bands he's done. He's one of those people that can just, like, good songs just flow out of him. In a perfect world, he'd be on the world famous and writing hit records and producing hit records, and you know, he'd be like a Mutt Lange or something.
Right.
But what I admire about it, it's not like, oh, well, somebody's got to sit him down and tell him how to channel his talent into having hits. He's following his muse.
Yeah. And
hopefully the world comes around to him, because that's really how it should work. You know, sometimes, sure, there's tons of stories about people who chased hits and won, but there's something to be said for the people who just stick to their guns too, because there's plenty of those stories as well, of people who just said, nope, this is what I want to do. I'm not veering off this path. And eventually the world came around to them.
Right, yeah, because like you said earlier, great music is great music, and I guess what you're saying, the festival crowd overseas is a testament to that. So I guess in that same vein, this is it's a broad question, and it's kind of a grapefruit lob to you, but what do you think makes a good rock song? Like, what's at the core of rock and roll? What makes you feel like, yeah, rock?
Yeah, you know, that's a great question, and it's almost an intangible thing, isn't it?
Right. Mm-hmm.
There's just something when, to me, a great rock and roll song is something that just makes you feel like it'd be like Popeye eating a spinach. You know, all of a sudden you feel like you can just take on the world. It's interesting how music goes in people's brains, and we absorb it different ways. Someone may hear "Breaking the Law" by Judas Priest and think, "My God, that's some horrible racket," and then myself, I hear like, "Oh God, I'm glad I'm not driving right now because I was."
Yeah, he's doing 90. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Do you get goosebumps when you listen to that type of music? Like, are you one of the people that gets the goosebumps when they hear music that really affects them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is the best feeling when the hairs on your arm stand up and you just get the chills. That's just, if they could bottle that somehow and send it to people, that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
I love that feeling.
Yeah, that to me is the essence of, well, just great music in general, because it can happen for me and all of us in the band. We talk about this a lot, like getting those goosebumps, and how not all music fans have that, and it's something special that almost all musicians and almost everyone who works in music has. And it's that visceral kind of physical reaction to what you're hearing and feeling. And that's super cool. I guess along that same line is, like, part of your job here for Frontiers Music is finding and signing new talent. Is that right? So what are you looking for now, and how is the move to Nashville helping that out?
So basically what happened is, I'll do a yada, yada, yada from where I left off about the career story. I was in sales. I was in publicity. I was working for Danny Goldberg and Daniel Glass. I got moved into sales and marketing, yada, yada, yada. Took a little time out from the music industry to go work in magazine publishing. Didn't like it. Was trying to get back into the music industry. Said nobody would ever give me that product manager marketing job because it wasn't on my resume. So screw it. I'll make my own company and get hired to do marketing jobs that way because I knew I'd be good at it. And that's how my company, No Jacket Required, was born. And 7 years ago, Frontiers, a mutual acquaintance, said, "Hey, there's this label Frontiers about to put out a new Whitesnake album, and they need a product manager marketing guy in the U.S." And I mean, I couldn't tell you how much time I had spent listening to Whitesnake from about 1987 on.
Right. Yep.
So, to me, I was like, let's go. Let's
yes, please.
Yeah. And the Frontiers guys, the thing about the guys who started the company and the people he has working for him in Naples, these are not people who are like, "Oh, I got a job doing this, that, or the other thing." These are hardcore music people. So when I spoke with them and they saw that I also was a hardcore music person, and that I was speaking the language that they were, metaphorically.
Right.
I don't speak Italian yet.
Okay, I was going to ask. Hey, but you speak the language of love, rock and roll.
Yeah, there you go. But they were like, okay, he gets it, and we have been on board with them ever since. And then I was for 4 years I was working at an artist management company in New York City, and my wife and I just got burnt out on New York. And we have a little girl, and we're like, it's time to move to Nashville. We were like, it's time to move out of New York, and I wanted to stay working in music, so Nashville was the logical choice because you're not really solving the hectic pace thing by moving to LA. So we moved to Nashville, and right when that was happening, the owner of Frontiers called me up and said, "Hey, I really want to get somebody in North America who's going to just kind of take control of everything, every aspect of the company there, and help me find new bands, do everything you're doing, plus, branding of the label, all these other things." And I said, "Well, I'm moving to Nashville, so if you don't mind if I'm based out of Nashville, I can absolutely do this." And he said, "Nashville has more studios, more musicians. New York, it totally makes sense." So,
and a pretty good rock scene too, man. Like, I know a lot of good bands from Nashville.
It's music city, not country music.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a rock and roll thing happening here. And I can't say this, I haven't done a survey so this is not scientific, but I think like 90% of the guys doing the backup stuff for the country bands would actually love to be in their own rock and roll bands.
Right. Yeah.
I think they're all guys and girls who have like Motley Crue posters hanging on their walls growing up.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But I mean, in country, a lot of the country music is very has very strong elements of rock and roll in it. Chris Stapleton is definitely a country artist, but you hear rock and roll in it. You hear rock and roll in Sergio Simpson and Jason Isbell, and you hear rock and roll in a lot of the mainstream stuff too. More pop rock and roll certainly, but rock and roll nonetheless. So
yeah.
I think it's all kind of starting to meld together. But yeah, totally a rock and roll town, and a great scene and a great vibe, and people just love music here. It's fun to be ensconced here, being a music lover like myself. So, really, what we're trying to do now with Frontiers, and what I'm specifically trying to do with Frontiers is, we're trying to brand the label name here. So, a lot of people know the label as, oh, they put out Whitesnake, they put out Winger, they put out LA Guns, Warrant, Mr. Big, those great 80s hard rock bands, which we absolutely do put out records by those bands, and we love doing that because the people at the label all grew up fans of those bands, and it's an honor to work with them and an honor to give them an outlet to release their new music because they're still, I mean, musicians don't have an expiration date. They keep creating until they don't feel like doing it anymore. So we're happy to work with those guys. But in looking towards the future, you have to say, well, those guys are going to retire, not feel like making new music, and this new music business model, they're going to want to move on. So you need to start, as a record label, you need to start developing the next wave of bands to take over. And the label believes in rock music, very much so. So we're looking at, we don't care where the band's from. It could be, I mean, there's a ton of rock and roll in Scandinavia, so we're finding a lot there. The UK has this tremendous rock and roll thing happening, going on. It's like everything from indie rock to hard rock to metal. Like it's something out in the water over there. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's a rebirth for sure. Like all the subgenres, like punk and like rockabilly and metal and all of it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you look at a band like that band Shane that's got a buzz going on right now from the UK, and it's like you listen to it, like, oh, that record's awesome. So and then there's this band that we work with called Inglorious, who definitely have heard some Deep Purple and Whitesnake records in the time, but they're like, they got that kind of vibe going on, but they're just, I mean, their singer Nathan he's got the vocal chords from the gods, just incredible stuff. So it's all really exciting, and we think this is happening in America too. So we're working on our footprint in America, and our goal is to start finding bands in the States too to complement all our Euro bands and our UK bands. And it doesn't, as long as it's rock and roll, and it's something we feel comfortably that we understand. Like, I love punk rock music, but I don't know if we'd ever sign a punk band because I don't think it's something we feel that we would would fit in our wheelhouse. But I think as time goes on, I think our wheelhouse is going to start expanding, and you just never know what the future holds. I really admire what, for example, Earache Records has done. You look at them, and I mean, those guys have gotten so much money out of me over the years from buying tapes and switching the CDs and switching to vinyl. But they were known as grindcore and death metal, and have created put out some of the most important albums in those genres. And now they had Rival Sons for years. They've got Massive Wagons now. All these other what is the guy's name? The White Buffalo. They've kind of moved into this sort of more rock and roll label, and they've done it slowly over the years. They put out the great Biters record last year. So much cool stuff. So they made a really interesting transition. They still do heavy stuff too. Like they put out an album this year by this band called Green Druid, which is total doom stoner metal stuff that sounds killer. So I like that. Dig over at Earache kind of followed his muse and just said, I'm kind of into different stuff now, and this is what I want to start putting out. So anything's possible. But basically, Frontiers we like guitar-based music with great singing and impeccable musicianship. That's kind of what we're into. So, we're looking at, people kind of think we're the dirty words used is, they're like the hair metal label, but so much more than that. We definitely work with the 80s hard rock bands because we love them and they're incredibly talented. But we're really looking to broaden our horizons, and I think people will see that when they start taking stock of some of the young bands who have signed on the label that are really running the gamut of rock and roll music.
So speaking of young bands, like what do you think are some like do's and don'ts for young bands that, are out there trying to like do well in their scene, maybe trying to catch the eye or ear of a label exec like yourself? Like getting in the van and hitting the bricks is still the best way, but like, is there like some new don'ts that you've seen crop up that you would say, like, as a young band, don't do this, but do this instead?
Yeah, I think I think you can give blanket advice all the time, but that it's every band is its own entity with its own personalities, and I think either the thing to do is concentrate on the do's and making sure those are done correctly. So find the guy or gal in the band who, somebody's got to be our social media person. Who's inclined to do it? Or maybe you have one person in the band who spends all day on Twitter, so you make them do that, and another person who spends all day on Instagram, so they do that. But you got to be taking care of the social media and reading up on the best practices of doing all that stuff, because for better or worse, labels do look at those numbers. They do look at the activity. And for God's sake, whatever you do, don't try to buy followers.
Yeah.
Because labels can sniff that out in 2 seconds. I've seen bands like, hey, we've got 100,000 Facebook likes. It's like, why does all of your posts have 3 likes then? Something's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Do create a lot of content, but don't create content just for the sake of creating content. So don't be like, oh my God, we got to get 100 videos on our YouTube channel. No. Get to 100 videos in a proper amount of time by taking the care to put up the right stuff on YouTube.
Right, quality stuff.
Because, I mean, anybody will tell you YouTube is an A&R scouting ground. I know folks at labels who have said, never saw the band live in person, just watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and that's how they signed the band. Because we could tell from YouTube it was good enough. So you got to have, so much of it is a little bit of luck, maybe a lot of luck.
Yeah.
So you've got to be, but you're never going to be found if you're not where people are at. So you've got to be out there with good content and good curation. And then you also got to be really taking care of your backyard, as I like to say. Wherever you're from, make sure you're trying to make friends with other bands that you can play gigs with. Make friends with the people on the record stores, so maybe you can do free gigs at the record store on Sunday afternoons or Saturday afternoons or whatever it is. Make friends with all the local promoters so that they'll think of you when they need to add a local band to a bill, especially if you're out there showing that you're proactive and, hey, man, we can definitely get 50 people to show up to this gig to see us. Let us on the bill. Make friends with the local tattoo parlor, the vape shop, the craft beer store.
Right, whatever. Yeah.
Just see those guys or gals around town that are, they're cool, they're helpful, they're hustling. That's the thing. Be known in your town as good people who are there to help and do good stuff and earn some karma points, right?
It's all about, like, I mean, because music is social. It's like one of our first, like, social experiences as humans, and an extension of that is, like, you being out and about in the community. You know, being there at shows, you know, talking to your peers, making relationships with the venues, and I'm into it.
And also, I think an important thing is you really have to develop thick skin, because you're going to get ignored and told you suck a lot.
Yep. Didn't it? I know, man. I've been playing in bands since I was 15. I've heard it all.
Yeah. You know, so it's like it was funny on the Frontiers Facebook. There was a guy who kept sending links to YouTube videos in the Facebook Messenger. It's like nonstop. And then he started posting. Every time he posted something, he started commenting, "Hey man, I sent my demos. No one's gotten back to me." Like he was owed an answer. So I said, "All right, you know, like here we go." I said, "Hey, if you haven't been answered, probably means we don't like your music." You know, it's being a test at that point. And all right, you got our attention, but not in the right way. Right. So understand that labels get hammered.
Right, and they're run by people. There's people behind those Facebook pages. There's real people there.
Yeah.
So treat them like people.
Well, also we got to take care of the bands we have on the label, and that takes a ton of time. So especially if it's an independent label without anybody who's, you know, their job is specifically to sit there and do A&R all day and scout bands. But, you know, you can't take it personally. Again, it's a little bit of luck and a lot of hard work that helps get you noticed. So you can't get discouraged. It's just par for the course to be told no, you know, no thanks, and not get a response. So you just got to keep on keeping on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and making your art for art's sake, and maybe it's time to work on your craft instead of harassing, you know, labels if you're not getting anywhere. I think a lot of people forget that maybe you should focus first on writing good songs and good music, and, you know, then start reaching out to labels. So
yeah, and you just get like funny stuff. Like there was a guy who wrote the other day and said, "I don't want any money. I just want you to put out my record." and then, but no, you know, you look at that, you're like, but you're an artist. You're supposed to get paid.
Right.
You're supposed to get some money for your work. Right. And also, if you're offering it for free, that does not make it sound attractive.
Right. Did you listen to it? Did you check it out?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't bother. Which is horrible to say, but you know what?
You're busy.
Times where, you know, you click things out of morbid curiosity.
Right.
And then you can sometimes be pleasantly surprised. But it's tough. Labels, when they sign an artist, they're thinking we have potential. I mean, it's a business. So they're thinking we have potential to make money off of this.
Right, so, it's the music business, so that business is in there.
Yeah, but at independent labels, well, I think at major labels too. I don't mean to. I mean, major labels are full of people who love music, as are the indie labels. So ultimately, it wants to come down to whoever gets you onboarded at the label is going to be think two things: one, they're passionate about your music, and two, they think they can make money by spreading the good word of what you've done. So that's the first thing you need is passion from people who you're talking to about potentially working with, and then you know that they're going to have an understanding that they think they can make money off of you. It's, like not maybe somebody who owns their own label might say, "I'll put out my friend's band." Right. You know, I don't care if I don't make any money, but for the most part, people see it as I like this and I think I can make money off of it. And that's really why you get signed. So
yeah, I agree. Well, let me ask you one final question, Nick, if you will indulge me.
Sure.
If you had to choose one, the desert island question, Iron Maiden or Judas Priest? Choose.
Sadly, well, no, actually, I'm very proud of the fact that I spent a lot of time thinking about this.
You thought about this. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm not caught off guard because I've had this debate with friends. I've had it internally.
You are a kindred spirit, my friend, because we ask everybody this. And, oh, man, I'm so glad to hear that you've thought about this. Okay, go ahead.
So here's my thing.
Uh-huh.
If you lined the albums up, like, and did album versus album on those two bands, I think a huge amount of the time, I would say I prefer the Iron Maiden record.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, I just like Judas Priest the slightest bit better, and that is the band that I would say I would choose if I could only have one the rest of my life. I would absolutely choose Judas Priest. There's something Iron Maiden is incredible.
Of course.
Incredible.
I have an entire wall.
Fame.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a whole wall of Iron Maiden posters in my studio, so I'm a little biased, but I'm a huge Priest fan, and this is something I wrestle with myself, and I don't know what my answer is. That's why I like to ask everybody it. I don't know. But I will have you know that most people do agree with you that, like, pound for pound, although Iron Maiden is tremendous, when it comes to just the desert island, they want Judas Priest. And one day I will speak to Rob Halford and let him know this. And that'll be a glorious thing. There's just, like I said, if I lined the albums up side by side, I think I would almost always say the Maiden album is better. But just on the whole, there's just Judas Priest. Like, one of my daughter's almost 3, and one of the things I let her watch is there's Judas Priest live from the U.S. Festival in 1983. The whole concert's up on YouTube, so we put it up on the big screen TV. She just loves watching it. She just sits there and... That's amazing. You're teaching the children well. Teach the children.
You got to. Listen, I sprung for when they announced the new album. I paid the $75 to get the autographed vinyl copy of Firepower.
Wow, nice.
Which
is an amazing album, right? That album, start to finish, is magnificent. It's just nonstop. Wow.
They've been. I mean, they're just. I mean, I just love Judas Priest, and I think maybe it's that they have more like quote unquote singles, like hit singles for lack of a better term, than Maiden does. Maiden's obviously got a ton of great songs. So I think Judas Priest maybe stacks up a little more, in terms of like the great songs, and it's tough. But like I said, I just give Judas Priest the edge ever so slightly.
Yeah, just a little tiny. Yep.
Yeah. What's your favorite Priest album?
My favorite is British Steel. I think it is, or Screamin for Vengeance. I don't know, but I said it right away, British Steel. So yep, that's the one. That is the one.
Screamin for Vengeance is mine. Screamin for Vengeance is mine. Followed closely by Painkiller.
Ah, yeah, Painkillers. Yeah.
And Maiden's the one where
that's
Killers maybe.
It's impossible.
Maybe.
It's
hard to say.
Yeah. For some reason, I always come back to Power Slave, but like Killers and Number of the Beast are right there. So I don't know. I was first introduced to Maiden with Somewhere in Time, so that was my first love, and then the whole back catalog and forward catalog from there. But yeah, those albums are ones you put on from start, and you just let it go. You don't jump around. You listen to start to finish. And you hit anyone in the forehead if they try to turn it off. But
right, it's like I feel the same way about Black Sabbath. You know? I think people are kind of unfair to the non-Ozzy and non-Dio years too. Toby Martin did some really excellent work with with Tony Iommi. Headless Cross and Cross Purposes and The Eternal Idol. Great albums. Tony was a good singer, and it's kind of amazing how Tony Iommi was just able to keep just he's one of the great unheralded songwriters of his generation.
Definitely. Well, we we could spend all night talking classic metal, Nick. But I really do I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. I wish my bandmates were here today but if they were, this would go on for 4 hours straight. So thank you so much for speaking with us. And if there's any parting words, what's the best way to find you and Frontier's music online?
Frontiers is www.frontiers.it. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, obviously, all those good places. I am on Instagram as TIEDER, TIEDER. And if you like seeing pictures of vinyl records, I'm a great follower. The occasional cat picture, as all metalheads like cats.
Yes, they do.
It's like a universal thing. All metalheads like cats.
Yep. Yeah, I have dogs, but I love cats. I'm just allergic. But I love some of my favorite Instagram feeds are all of cats. So it's amazing.
Yeah, especially metal cats.
Yep. Yes, metal cat. Well, thank you so much, Nick. We appreciate you taking the time to speak with us, and you have a lovely evening, sir.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate your time.
Man, what a great interview.
Yeah, that was really something.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
What did you learn, Doug?
I learned a whole lot about prosciutto.
See.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
When I used to be a meat eater.
Yeah. Doug's the resident vegetarian in the band.
Yeah. I might be getting
How long have you
close.
been vegetarian?
Oh, gosh.
You're not vegan, right? You're
Fuck that shit.
Yeah, I've seen him eat
you like ovo-lacto?
copious amount of cheese.
Ovo-lacto, you do eggs and milk?
Yeah, I eat the unborn embryos.
Yeah. And you did the egg whites at
But not
Subway
pesca.
before,
You're not a
I've seen that.
pescatarian, right?
No.
Nothing with the face.
I was trying to think. It's been a while. Yeah.
many
maybe a
years.
decade.
Yeah. Wow.
At least.
Yeah. Good.
I was, because when we got together, however long ago that was.
Yeah.
I was doing it then.
You were doing it then. Yep. And then, I tried it for like a year. Did not sit with me well.
Yeah, vegetarianism.
No. Yeah, I mean, it was okay. I mean, well, I'm like the dude like Jules in Pulp Fiction, because my wife's a vegetarian, so I'm basically a vegetarian. Except for, like I dice in a little chicken here and there. But
Right.
But, what you was talking about that one time, some guys is like carbitarians.
Yeah,
Like,
carbotarians.
Yeah.
Carbotarians. Yeah, if you're going to become vegetarian kids, you got to have your protein.
Yeah.
You can't just eat potatoes and fucking bullshit.
Starches.
Starch.
Yeah.
I
you
love
starch.
I love pasta.
Wicked starch.
Wicked starch. How about that POOM?
Yeah.
Look at the poom on that guy.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right?
So that'll do it for this episode of Idiots with Instruments. I'm Jim, telling you to keep your POOM tight.
It's not on the list. Keep your poom hydrated.
Yeah, and never poom acoustic.
Yeah.
Or never play acoustic? Never poom acoustic.
Idiots with Instruments is a Solid Arts and Science production. All rights reserved throughout the multiverse. Please subscribe and review the show on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. Visit idiotswithinstruments.com for exclusive bonus material and to support or sponsor this show.
POOM!